Hello and welcome back to another video on TGM Guitars. Just want to start my video off how I start them off, thanking everyone for the support that they've shown recently with watching the videos, subscribing, getting close to 300 subscribers, which is quite cool. So if you haven't already, please consider subscribing if you enjoy this video. And without further ado, let's jump into the topic of this video. So first of all, it's kind of a bit of a test video to see how my new lighting rig's working out. So I've got myself a couple of studio style lights and done a bit of backlighting in the background to try and just improve the quality of my videos, make them look a little bit more professional. So hopefully that's coming across and hopefully it works out quite well for this video. So what I'm planning on doing for this video is showing you the process that I go through when it comes to recording songs and recording my covers that I upload on my other channel. I'll chuck a link up here or something. And basically, it's just a bit of an aid to help you guys. You don't have to use the exact same equipment that I use. You don't have to kind of do it in exactly the same way. You might find something that best works for you, but I'm just going to show you what I currently use and we'll go from there, I guess. So I'm going to do a little snippet of one of the songs I used to play and wrote with my old band Off Topic. For copyright reasons, I don't want to actually upload an actual famous song, otherwise it will get taken down. So that'll have to do. And because of that, I will be kind of overlaying the guitars over already made guitar tracks and mixed. So it's not going to sound exactly how I like them to sound, but I'll talk you through that a bit more when it comes to actually mixing it. But I'll throw up here just a clip of how the end product sounds. So, this is what I use to record. I've got two lights here. I've got a fill light and the key light, which is whiter. I've tried watching videos on YouTube to understand lighting, and this is kind of the setup that I ended up buying. I have also got the light up there, but I'll turn that off when I'm recording. And a couple of background lights, courtesy of a few LED strips that are behind the amps, behind my desk. I've got a little LED light over there, and also some lighting over here, which just kind of creates a nice bit of atmosphere, and I'm hoping it works well. Anyway, this is the camera I use, Canon 250D, so I will point that in a direction that gives me, usually for cover videos, I just want waist up, cutting my head off, because then you've got the focus on the guitar and not too much on anything else. If I'm doing the videos that you're seeing here, I'll be sitting on that desk chair right there. So that's the lighting. There is a full overview of my setup and rig and that. So what I will do is quickly go over what's on the computer. Please excuse the stuff that's under the desk. Probably try and crop that out or something. So I use Cakewalk, and that is basically running through my audio interface here, which is a PreSonus Audio Box i2. And I've got my amps going into this Torpedo Captor X. I know it's not the tidiest of setups, it's kind of hidden under there, but it's what works for me. So I have my amps going into there, which goes into that, which then comes into Cakewalk. If you're starting off doing this, and you can see on my actual YouTube channel, the way I started it was through just simply putting an iPhone in front of me and recording. So that is another option, although I'm just going over a bit more sort of an in-depth version here. So today we're going to be using the Marshall and the Bugera, simply because they were the ones used on the original recording. So I'm going to try and recreate some stuff. Why not? And yeah, so what I'm going to do now is just show you how I set up the stuff in Cakewalk, and we shall go from there. Right, so we're over here on the startup screen of Cakewalk. Apologies for the drop in audio quality once again, because I'm recording this currently through my phone, which then allows you to hear some of the amp stuff coming through the monitor speakers that I use. So yeah, it's a bit of a palaver, but let's get on with it. So what I will do is start a new project for this one. I usually just go with basic, because that will set up a single audio channel and a MIDI channel. Get rid of the MIDI, do not need that. And then what I will do is insert a second audio track, because I record it all in stereo. Set that to be right, set that one to be left, and then what I'll do with these is I will pan complete left on track 1 and track 2. So what I will do is just name that, we'll call it Les Paul 1, because I'll be using the Les Paul and the Gretsch, just doing 2 guitar tracks today. And Les Paul 2. This is what I'm using in the Torpedo. So got a bit of enhancer and reverb on the Madsen cab. I'll just turn the reverb down a little bit because it was a bit over the top last time. And with the amp on, that sounds a bit like this. Just bear in mind I have put the mirrored inputs on there so you can actually hear it. So that's what we're running with into Cakewalk. So that's sort of my bare bones sound. And what I'm going to do, you can hear that enhancer does a little bit, but I want it to have a bit more body. Now I'll just set the settings on my amplifier to what I want. Right, now that's set, I can just flick the amp onto standby again just to keep the noise down. What I'm going to do now is just find and drag in the audio track I'm going to be using. That's where we are. I'm just going to drag this file into here. Today we're doing a song called Breakdown, which you'll recognise the riff. I've used it enough on this channel. So here we can hear the track if I play it. So what I'm going to quickly do is bring up the console and have a play along and try and set my settings here so it's not completely over the top, and I can play along to it without, well, whilst being able to hear everything. So there we go. Now it's turned it down quite a bit. I have the guitar going in not too loud so then I can boost it, I can lower it. It just gives you better mixing possibilities. So that's what I'm doing here. And then when it comes time to record, I'll just click those two on and yeah, start the recording. It's pretty much as simple as that. Extra tracks will be added in. Another way you can do this is using an amp modeler like Amplitude. I use that when I'm doing bass, but I'm not going to be doing bass today. But yeah, so I'll just later on I'll duplicate those tracks and we'll come back to it once I've recorded it and I'll show you a bit more then. Right, so we've got everything set up, ready to record. Just going to turn the camera on. Switch over to the lights. Those ones off. And if I've set the camera up correctly, let's just double check. Just turn it, put it down a tweak. And there we go. So, it's a bit weird because I've got two cameras going on at the moment and realised that it shows up a bit differently in that light. So yeah, what we're going to do now is hit record. Now I don't have anything plugged into my camera that's over here because the audio I can just sync after the fact. So as long as we've got this coming through my monitors over here, that'll pick it up and then I can sort that out later. So without further ado, let's do a first take. So I'll usually leave myself a little bit of room at the start of the track to jump in and actually start recording. So here we go. Completely messed up the first take, so now I'm going to actually play it. So here we go, first take. So I'll stop it there. Don't need to really go any further and do a full song for this. This is just kind of an example of how I do it. So what we'll do now is switch over amps. Going to go to the Bugera and yeah, just change it up a little bit. Right, so amp change, guitar switch, and yeah, I've just duplicated the tracks that I used for the Les Paul, using exactly the same speaker setup in 2 notes as with the Marshall, and yeah, time to record this. So what I did when I actually recorded this in the studio was kind of mimicked having a rhythm guitarist just with this, playing something a little bit different. And yeah, so if you want to know what the actual sound is, so previously it was a Marshall on the ultra gain green setting and with the Les Paul straight into the front of it. And with this setup, it's the Bugera 1960 Infinium, and I've got a Tubescreamer running into the front, so it's a little bit more present and kind of bitey, but it plays off quite well against the Les Paul. So called on the camera again. So there we go, exactly the same bit recorded, only a minute of footage again. So yeah, that's the playing, the recording. I'll just jump over, show you some mixing. And yeah, I'm looking in the monitor of that camera and really thinking I need to switch these lights around. But I've already said that. Things I'm learning, right? So yeah, let's head back over onto the computer and I'll show you what I do to mix it. Gotta love it when you realise that it hasn't actually been recording the screen. So let me talk you through it. Basically what I do is I chuck some easy mix profiles onto my guitars till I like the sound of them. You can mix it any way you want. There's people out there a lot better than mixing than me. Probably use their videos for reference rather than mine. Chuck a couple on the Gretsch channels. I've got those coming onto buses over here. So I can pan them left, right, as if you've got a band on stage. And that's pretty much it. A couple of mastering profiles on the master, funnily enough. And yeah, this is what I've ended up with. What we'll do quickly is just bump that down a little bit so we're not clipping. And then, yeah, so I then export that. Going up here, export, audio, take it where you want. Put all these settings to how you'd use them, and good to go. So what we're going to do now is jump on over to the video editing, and I'll show you how I do that. And this hasn't been the most in-depth kind of how to mix stuff, but there are way better videos for mixing music out there. So I'd recommend going and watching those, because I have a lot of polarizing people saying, oh, I don't like the way you mix sounds, you've got too much treble. That I just do it simply for efficiency, so I can get something out there and spend more time on the video editing. Maybe I should do it another way around. But anyway, that's how I do that. Okay, so I use Premiere Pro. Feel free to use whatever you want, but the reason why I use Premiere Pro, I will show you in one very simple little tool. I say simple, it just makes life simple. So what we're going to do is create a new project. That's actually changed, which is not too good. It's updated to 2022. So I will try to show you best I can. So let's put a project name up here. We will call it video tutorial. It's really a covers tutorial, isn't it? And then what we will do, it says here select media to create new project. So we'll go over here. This is the card off of my camera, and I've got all these video files here. So as you can see, the ones I've used to record this video so far. So I will select these two, press create. What I will do is it will use the base settings, in other words 1080p 25 frames per second, and it'll automatically set those as the parameters for the video I'm making. So I'll join you again once it's loaded in. So we've got our two files here that it's populated for us, and what we've got here, if you go into media browser, you find your audio file, so that video making demo one that I made earlier, and I'll just drag that in to track 3 here. If you remember, I made a mistake and had to restart doing the song earlier on, so I'll delete the front of that. More importantly, I will press nest. And what that'll do is ignore that first part of that section, because otherwise it tries to sync up to what I've played previously. I had so many issues with that before. So what you can do, select all these tracks, and this is a brilliant thing about Premiere Pro. You can press synchronize, audio track 1, and what it should do is line all of those up perfectly. It just basically references the audio tracks, and what we should end up with in a second is all of those in the right position, all synced up and ready to go. So I'll join you back once that's finished processing. So as you can tell, they are all nicely lined up now. And what we can do is go on here. I've just realised the light is actually slightly in that corner there, so I have to adjust my my field of view there. Right, so what I'm going to do is right click, unlink on both of the video tracks, that way I can delete these. So now all we're left with is the video track and the audio track that we exported, so I'm just going to cut those to length. Now what I used to do is actually do a picture-in-picture kind of setup for my videos when I used to do them, but what I do now is kind of switch back between the two. I think it just looks a little bit nicer. I don't know if that's the best way of putting it, but what we're going to do is hide that track there. And apologise if you can hear my cat moaning in the background. And what I tend to do is like cut it around riffs. So there, we can cut it and stick to a couple of seconds, like maybe 10 or so, or maybe a little bit shorter of each part, because then it just creates a nice, or at least I think it creates a nice sort of look to your videos. So what I'm going to do is go back there before we go to that ending riff. Just cut it again, delete this. And then I just basically rinse and repeat. If I've got more tracks, it takes longer. But I'm just going to get on with that and then show you how I export it. Right, so as I mentioned earlier, cut it up into little snippets just to kind of mix them in. So what I'll do now is I add on a little bit of editing. So I've changed this around. I do apologise. So if I click on Start Colour, Basic Correction. Now I've got the white balance set on my camera now, so I can just drag these about without having to match every single video up, which I used to have to do. You can see you can add tint to it, but I'm going to keep it at 0 and 0. Kind of like the moody setting I've got going on. Contrast. To be honest, I don't feel like I need to adjust this too much. I used to have to do a lot of this to kind of match everything up, but we'll get the blacks a little bit darker, whites a little bit lighter. The creative sharpen, I sometimes put about 2 on that. But again, I don't think I need to do that anymore. Now I've got this new lighting setup, it's changed how everything looks. That being said, the Gretsch doesn't look quite the right colour, so I'm going to have to play about with some stuff. Settings on the camera at least. There we go. Change the temperature and all of a sudden it comes back. We'll do the same. For this. So actually what I'm going to do, apologies, is I'm going to nest these once I've taken all the effects off. So I just realised it's changing them individually, isn't it? And we want a nice uniform video that all looks the same. So if I set everything back to 0, nest that, then what that does is create one video track which can then be edited all together. Look at that, the temperature just changes things just a little bit more contrast. You can always play about your saturation. I'm going to leave it at 100, sorry, not 0. Everything else is to 0. Again, black's a little bit down because I don't need the detail of like the chair in the background. White's up a little bit. See how that makes the Gretsch look. See, that is true. That's almost true to its real colour, but you want a bit of warmth in these videos. So we'll go with that. Bit of saturation to make the colour pop on the guitar a bit. The only thing is, obviously, that messes with that. Maybe it's a little bit more difficult using two completely opposed colouring guitars here, but you know, it is what it is. I'm still learning sort of with this new settings, but this is basically what I do. Just play about with those until it looks good. You can add creative looks on here to make it look in certain ways, but I don't really do any of that. Again, you've got a setting here for a bit of saturation, a bit of vibrance. We'll add a little bit of that. You also add faded film if you're going for that old look. And then what I do is add a little bit of vignette or however you pronounce it. I'll leave that one out there for debate. Just to kind of make the focus on the actual guitar playing in the middle section. So what we're going to do now is just I think that looks all right. Again, I think I'm going to swap over my key and my fill light just to kind of change the way it makes the guitars look. Because as you can see with Gretsch, we've got a lot of reflection here. So maybe move that light back a little bit that's creeping in up here. And yeah, I think apart from that, it looks good. I'm separated from the background and I'm quite happy with that. So what we're going to do now is go back to our effects setting over here and just have it so I can add in some effects. Right, finally found it. Now I'm in familiar territory. So what I usually do, video transitions and a bit of dissolve, cross dissolve on the front and the end of the video. And what they'll do is fade in from the black. And then at the end we will fade out. So what I'll do is, because we've got a cut off there sort of mid-song, so I'll just make that fade a little bit longer, and then if we go to audio transitions, crossfade, exponential fade, we'll drag that out, start coming in around about the same time, and then you end up with this at the end of the video. So that cross dissolve's a little bit long, or half that. There we go. So we've got our finished edited video right here. I will quickly group those together before I drag them apart. And now what we do is File, Export, Media. And I have a profile set up already in here for YouTube guitar video. So I'll just quickly go through here. So we're running full HD. I don't run 4K yet. I don't know if my computer could actually handle it. So square pixels, render at maximum depth, maximum render quality, performance, got hardware encoding. Apparently can't do that anymore. Used to be able to. I used to be able to get it to render a little bit faster. It's my bitrate encoding, set up for YouTube. Audio, now the audio settings, I don't really mess with those. And that's about it, to be honest. We've got all effects here. You can play about with this. Find something that you like. These are my settings. What we're going to do is export it as video tutorial. If I can spell, that'd be good, wouldn't it? And then press export. And yeah, once that's done, we'll end up with a video file that is the final product. So once again, I'll run the finished product again here. I know it's at the beginning of the video, and you can just see sort of what we've created. So there we have it. That's just a quick, I know a bit of a long video, but a quick overview of how I actually record my YouTube videos, whether that be my covers. It's a similar process for this, but a little bit different in the fact of there's a little less audio editing, especially when I'm doing a demo of something. I want it to come through almost as true as it will sound, and get it straight to you guys so you can actually see what the piece of gear that I'm reviewing sounds like. Now, I'm learning a little bit about these lights still, so don't take my word 100% gospel for how to set them up or how to use them. I realise there's a few settings I'll probably tweak when it comes to recording my my guitar covers from now on, simply because it's all changed with this lighting setup. But apart from that, fairly happy with how it turned out. I don't know what you guys think, whether it's been useful for you. Let me know down in the description. If you've got any tips on how I can actually do it a little bit better, a bit better editing, whether that's audio or video wise, then please let me know and I'll incorporate those in. But I hope this has been a good overview of how I record videos. Again, I said at the beginning, you don't have to go through this DSLR with lighting and doing all the editing. You can simply prop your phone up, press record, and off you go. Now, what I do when I'm rendering this sort of stuff for Instagram, make it a little bit shorter. I mean, that's only a 1 minute clip anyway, so it works perfectly fine for Instagram as it is. So, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like rating, consider subscribing. Ever so close to 300 subscribers, one away. My next goal after that's going to be 500, so hopefully we can get there one day. That'll be nice. But apart from that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.